Welcome to Good Teams Win Great Teams Cover. We're back with our Week 5 preview episode. And we've got our third co-host rejoining us after a brief stint away. Joe, welcome back. Good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I've missed it the last few weeks. I've been obviously listening in. I've had my takes and wish I could be on there to either agree or disagree. So it's great to be back and to get stuck into the NFL because it's Week 5 already, and it's like I'm like, quarter of the year's gone and I'm not stuck into it yet. So excited.
Excellent, good stuff. Me and Byron did our best to hold down the fort without you. I think we did okay. But good to have the trio back. Week 5, as you say, we're kind of getting towards that almost third of the way through the season, which is wild. Waited for so long, and then the weeks are just flying by. It's the first of the London games this week, so obviously we'll talk about that in a bit of detail. Jets Vikings. We'll talk about the Sky Sports games that are on. A couple of crackers. Sunday night football, Monday night football, and then we'll get into the rest of it. Our FourFold draft, ATS challenge, and we'll have a look at Fantasy Gameday picks as well. Yeah, can't believe where we're at. Should we start with the London game? That makes sense.
Yeah.
We were hoping, sadly, we were going to have somebody on, Fraser on, who we've had on before for the Jets, but sadly couldn't make it. So we're guestless this week for the first time in Good Teams and Great Teams cover season preview history. We tried to scramble around for somebody else, but sadly could not produce. But hey-ho, what can you do? Jets take on the Vikings at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It's a Vikings home game, isn't it? Yeah. The Jets are 2.5-point underdogs. The under-over is 40. What are we making to the first London game of the season, guys?
It's a big one, isn't it? Jack Conklin revenge game. Was it Tyler Conklin? Yeah. Tyler Conklin's a tight end. Jack Conklin's a
the Browns lineman, yeah.
Tyler Conklin revenge game, and more importantly, as we see on the graphic here, Sam Darnold revenge game. He's not seen ghosts anymore. He's seen W's. Playing like one of the top 10, 12 quarterbacks in the league so far. A lot of credit for that goes to Kevin O'Connell, I think. But man, you'd love to see him stick it to the Jets after how he was, not supported there, treated like the prior Zach Wilson, and he was a joke of the NFL, and it's good to see him getting his flowers now, but I'm sure he'll love to stick it to the Jets, as would I, and I'd love to see him do it. And I think the Vikings, through 4 weeks, look like one of the best teams in the NFL. Brian Flores' defense is going wild on everybody. I think you said it a couple of weeks ago, Paul. It feels like Brian Flores doesn't really know what he's going to call until he calls it. So not sure how you prepare for that. And I think that could be one of the biggest schematic matchups of the week. Brian Flores versus Nathaniel Hackett, who frankly cannot hack. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. Will Stephon Gilmore shut down Garrett Wilson and tell the rest of the team to make do covering Lazard, Mike Williams, and the running backs out the backfield? And I honestly don't really see how the Jets defense slow down Minnesota. Whether that's Aaron Jones, who had a great game going back to Green Bay without a touchdown, or Jordan Addison now back in the mix and he looks immediately back to game-breaking speed. And Justin Jefferson, obviously the best receiver in football, continues to do everything he's done and will continue to do. So, I don't see the Jets winning this game. I think 2.5 points is a nice line. I've got the Vikings on our ATS, and I will stop rambling on here.
No, it's cool. I think I've backed myself into a real corner with the Vikings now. Obviously, love what they've been doing. They're playing unbelievably well, offensively, defensively. They're not just going to carry on winning. So I think my issue is now I'm going to be on the other side. I've just painted myself in that corner. So after 2.5 points, I would have obviously liked the other part. I've gone the Jets for our ATS picks, but I'm just going to take Jets money line, Jets to win the game outright at plus 120, just for the bit of value. The Jets were truly terrible last week against the Broncos. I mean, it was just a rancid game, full stop. The Jets had O-line issues. There's so many pre-snap penalties. Yeah. Really struggled to run the ball. Rodgers didn't look great. It was just a mess. So I think they're going to take a big step forward this week and return to something like a reasonable performance. And I think the Jets just they've got to get a win back that they probably shouldn't. So giving up that Broncos game last week, and I just feel that the Vikings are, even if the Vikings are 4-1 after 5, what a great fucking start they've had when nobody given them realistically giving them a chance. So I just think it's a bit of a different game. If this was in Minnesota, I think it'd be different. I think obviously Minnesota would be getting more, so the Jets would be getting more. But I think the fact that it's in London, in essence, a neutral game, I'll take the Jets. And I just think there's a performance to come from the Jets. And I think maybe there's also, I don't know if the Vikings can keep up this level that they're playing at. I mean, they might be able to keep up for another week, but I don't know the long run. Even if it's a bit of a drop-off, they're still playing very well. So, yeah, I know. I just like the Jets in this one. I think it'll be close. But there's a low total as well. The total's 40, so we always talk about the London under as well. The total's 40, and given kind of how quick potentially the Vikings have been getting out the blocks in games, and the Jets do have really good offensive players and playmakers, I kind of like the over 40 as well. I think it was a real low number, even for a London game.
I think that is a factor in London, but sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's also because these two defenses have been playing so well, so they're 4th and 5th in points per game allowed. So they both can certainly produce, and like you said, that the London, how they get over the jet lag, it's certainly going to be big for this game. But yeah, it's such a weird game. Like if you said the start of the season, one team was one of the best in the league and everyone's looking a bit shaky, you probably would have been roles reversed. And yeah, I think it's super exciting. I think the only thing I struggle with the Jets is that when they play the Broncos last week, you mentioned, it was a offensive struggle. And what did the Broncos do? Well, they blitz. I think they're first in the blitz per drop back. Vikings are second. Vikings are first in the amount of blitz, the sacks. So I think it's going to be a similar kind of game script from Brian Flores. And if the New York Jets line didn't hold up against the Broncos, I don't know why they're going to do that against the Vikings when they play play something similar. I just worry about that Jets offense when Lazard's your leading wide receiver. It's just not really clicked. And we're going to talk about obviously a player who's recently put a trade request in. But the Jets then weird teams where you came to this, you figured, the offense is fine because Rodgers is back. But when you actually look underneath the hood, it's it's not all as all as great as we thought it was going to be coming into the season.
It's just not clicking with Garrett Wilson, is it? It doesn't seem to. They just don't seem to be on the right path. And I don't know. Garrett Wilson was able to produce with whoever was there.
Yeah,
the turnstile of quarterbacks that they had, that they were they were still able to get some semblance of production out of him, and they just don't seem to the end. Maybe it'll come, I don't know, but that definitely seems something that the Jets need to get right, and then it'll naturally, I think, open up other parts of the offense.
Did you see Garrett Wilson's quote about Nathaniel Hackett this week? He was asked about the scheme with Nathaniel Hackett. And he said, I don't think we do a lot of different stuff, to be honest. I watch football on Sundays. I see a lot of teams mix it up and stuff like that. I don't think we do that. I think we know identity. It's just about going out and executing it or figuring out if it's going to work. I don't think we try a lot of different things. And there was a big play towards the end of the game where I can't think if Garrett Wilson didn't turn around in time or he turned around too late. And the ball was off target and Rodgers looked so frustrated with him. But I would, Garrett Wilson's in the top, I think, 11 or 12 of separation score this year. He's getting open. It's not what Aaron Rodgers will ever want to hear, and I don't think he'll ever get told it in that building. But he might be the problem. It's all well and good of everything has to be in Aaron Rodgers' system. It has to be Aaron Rodgers' way or the highway. But I'm not sure if Devontae Adams is a better receiver in the NFL right now than Garrett Wilson. I know he's more in tune with Aaron Rodgers for sure, so it's probably going to look better. But I'm not sure what more you could ask out of Garrett Wilson. He's getting open. He's just not getting force-fed like I think he should be. CeeDee Lamb does, Amon-Ra does, Jefferson, all these top-end receivers do. Even Chris Olave, I think that's more of a Rodgers or a scheme issue than it is a Garrett Wilson issue. And it doesn't really matter when you win games, but as soon as you can't beat the Broncos at home on a 10-9 loss, is a huge problem because those should be gimmies in theory.
And this is a huge game for the Jets as well, just because you look at the schedule coming up. They're playing the Bills, they're at Steelers. Obviously, at Patriots should be a win, and then versus the Texans. So if you lose this game, you're 2-3. You say they'll probably win the Patriots 3-3. There could be 3-6 going into Week 10.
Yeah.
So this is huge for them to win. Obviously, they could win the other games, but like we mentioned, Paul, because they lost that game to the Broncos, and without forgot, it ramps it up even more. That if they go back 2-3, then there's going to be speculation. We all know that Hackett's not the man for the job, but does this pile on the pressure and just makes it even like the noise in New York gets even louder.
Yeah.
But like if they were to make that change, for example, Nathaniel Hackett, that then you just could piss off Rodgers and
that's not happening in season.
Yeah, so
I think it's too late.
I don't know
now.
what they do. Yeah, but I don't know, and I think there is an element of like there's a desperation of they need to put last week right, and I think that's why I take the Jets. That's why I like the Jets. Him sort of being painted into a corner. They've got to go find a way to win a game. Tough games coming up. Need this one right on the schedule. Whereas the Vikings, obviously, have been going well. Will probably continue to go well, but I just think there isn't that. Like 4-1 still a great position for them, isn't it? 5-0 obviously would be incredible, but 4-1 still not a bad position. So they'd have taken that for their first kind of third of the season for sure. Yeah, mentioned already, I'm on over 40. I think it's just a very, very low score, low number. I know the defenses have been playing well, but like I say, even if the Vikings have a decent day offensively, that's potentially 20-24 in it. I think the Jets can score a couple. And I'll take Jets money line for the value. Byron, you're Addison rolling with Addison again.
Yeah, he was about this same price last week. I think he was just over 3-1, but he's now plus 295 for anytime touchdown, which I don't really understand because I think you can attack the Jets through the air if you don't go to Sauce Gardner. So yeah, plus 295 Addison touchdown I like a lot. He can go deep and he's good in the red zone as well. And then kind of a fun one that DK have got as a special. Justin Jefferson scored more touchdowns than the Jets, which I think one might win that. Two could win it as well, obviously. But that's plus 650. And yeah, I like Justin Jefferson to get 2 touchdowns at plus 650. The Jets I have offensive issues around, obviously, and yeah, I think one could win that potentially. I'm not saying it will, but yeah, plus 650 Jefferson to score more touchdowns than the Jets.
Excellent. Well, it's the first time we've had that kind of bet, I think, on the show. Joe, what have you got for us?
Yeah, I've got the Jets over 23.5 rushing attempts. I just think being in London, they're going to try and run the ball quite. I think both teams are. I do like Byron's bets because they are fun ones. It's just the Jets are probably more gettable on the ground than in the air. I think they're second in the league with amount of passing yards. But I just think both teams are going to run the ball a lot. So yeah, I've got Jets over 23.5 rushing attempts, and I've got both teams over 1.5 field goals. I just think with the London games, it feels like it starts off really slow. I think both teams can get it moving, but they might just get stuck in the red zone. So yeah, both teams get 2 field goals, and that's a plus 300. So I did like that price. Yeah, for it to be a field goal fest.
I do have a little trivia question for this game, if you'd like one.
Go for it.
So the Vikings have won the last 3 against the Jets, home or away. Who was the last Vikings quarterback to lose to the Jets? And I'll give you a little clue. It was a revenge game.
Was it Brett Favre?
Wow.
It was Brett Favre, yes. October 11th, 2010. Last time the Jets beat the Vikings.
Excellent. Yeah, you didn't
my stats. Mr. Blobby, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was going to mention, yeah, you're right. Vikings won the last 3. They also went 3-0 against the spread in those, but obviously over a long period of time. Over is it in the last 4 meetings between the Jets and the Vikings? Again, over a very long period of time. The Vikings are 3-0 in London. This is their 4th visit. The Jets 1-1 in London. I don't want to use the phrase, so I'll use something else, but 18% of the bets, but 80% of the money so far is on the Jets. Just to point that out. It is also early in the week, though. Yeah. I'm also going to be recording on Thursday, so this has been much easier than recording when we recorded on a Wednesday, and then so much happened in between the games starting on Sunday. But yeah, that's the London game, first of 3. Should be a cracker. Hopefully it is at Tottenham. Next up, the early Sky game, NFC AFC North clash. Ravens, the 2-2 Ravens, are 2.5-point favourites, travelling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, who are 1-3. Over-under's 49, a big over-under for this one. I kept flipping back and forth between this one. I think it's going to be a real good game. I think it's going to be real close. I've landed on the Ravens, but I don't like it.
I'm the opposite. I'm loving the Ravens on this game. I just think I've just not been impressed with the Bengals. I know they finally got off the mat last week, but that defense is just not looking good. And I think this Ravens team is the opposite. How they performed against the Bills, they just dominated from start to finish, obviously with that massive Henry run. And I think it's going to be the same. I think one of the biggest weakness for the Bengals is the run game. And the Ravens are first in the league with rushing per game at 220 yards. I think going to do the same. I think it's going to be a huge Henry game, huge Lamar Jackson game. The offensive line was looking slightly better with Rose and Garden starting last week. So I think they're just going to put big numbers. And I think the only good thing the Bengals have had this week is that Taylor Britt hasn't said anything in the media about one of the other team's other team wide receivers and then gets benched during the game. So I was surprised I was only 2.5. I think it's just the Joe Burrow effect, and obviously I've just got a feeling the Ravens are just going to run all over this team, and it's going to be similar to how they played against the Bills.
Well, yeah, Bengals are giving up 145 yards a game on the ground, and you mentioned obviously Ravens are the number one rush offense, obviously primarily because of the last couple of weeks. There's a little bit that still makes me think you can get at the Ravens though through the air, and I think they're 29th in pass defense so far, and it's only 4 weeks, so. But and that's where I think the Bengals can get at them.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm much more on Joe's side of I love this for the Ravens. Simply, I think I've said this every week for the last couple. The Bengals can't tackle.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to be the team who can't tackle trying to tackle Derrick Henry. Sounds very, simple, I guess, analysis, but sometimes there's not that much more to it. I just think the Ravens are ready to play bully ball. They started the offensive tackle rookie. He had his first start on Monday, and I think he looked to make a big difference. He had a bit of an O-line shuffle, and that really helped against the Bills. So, I think this is going to be good for fantasy because I fully agree that you can throw on Baltimore, and I think that's what Cincinnati do best. You've got T. Higgins back healthy, Jamar Chase is rolling, Burrow looks good again. I just don't think that they're going to have the game script to keep up with Baltimore. I think Baltimore just going to score basically every drive. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be quick. I can see maybe a couple of 3 and outs for Cincy where, pass or 2 goes awry. You get a holding call on Mims maybe in his second start, I think it'll be, in a big pressure game. I just think, I've bet Derrick Henry 2 touchdowns plus 310. I think it's going to be another big Derrick Henry week. Maybe Justice Hill a bit out the backfield as well on, catching the ball. But I think it's just going to be a week of bully ball for Baltimore again. I feel like I've been saying that a bit recently. Especially coming off the Bills game. But yeah, I think it's a good one for fantasy. I like the 49 over because I think that it's just going to be a ton of scoring because neither defense is very good and both offenses are really good. Baltimore actually rank number 1 in DVO pass efficiency on offense and rush efficiency on offense, which is pretty rare to do. I just think there's going to be a lot of scoring in this game, but I think Baltimore are going to come out relatively comfortably on top.
Yeah, and I think with the Bengals, the other thing I struggle with is like the last 2 weeks. Obviously looked good against the Chiefs, but the last 2 weeks, obviously the offense has been firing. But it was against the Panthers and Commanders, who are, I think, ranked the worst 2 defenses in the league. I think even though I know the Ravens' pass defense has not been amazing, it's certainly a step up. And like you said, are they going to get the opportunities where they can keep scoring and keep it with the Ravens team? I don't think they will. And I think Ravens really want to put a stamp on it because if they win this, then, it's obviously not eliminated the Bengals, but a team starting 1-4 is going to find it a lot harder to come back around. And I just see issues, all over the Bengals team.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily nothing eliminating them, but I think you can count them out winning the division if they're at 1-4, the Bengals, and where the Steelers are and where the Ravens would be. I think like Bengals need this one to keep if they've got a realistic chance of winning the division. Well, I think it's a tough game. I think it's just going to be tight. And I was just so tempted. Again, I've taken the Ravens minus 2.5, but I'm going against that. I should be taking the Bengals division. A divisional game, home underdog in a divisional game. Statistically, it's a great bet, and that's what I should be taking. But I just ended up going with the Ravens. I don't like it. I really don't like it. So we'll see. Your bets then: Derrick Henry 2+ touchdowns +310, and Joe, you've gone Henry over 125 rushing receiving yards at just short of 3-1 at 290. I've got 5 stats for this one, but I'm not going to go all through them. So I'll give you 2. You can pick numbers. Pick a number each between 1 and 5.
Oh, 4.
3.
Okay, 3 and 4. I'll take 3 and 4 then. So the Ravens are 3-0 against the spread in the last 3 trips to Cincy. It's a combined stat. And the over has hit in the last 4 meetings in Cincinnati between these two. And then the Ravens are 28-2 against the spread in their last 30 road division games.
I thought we were just getting 2.
Well, the one was 2-1.
All right.
Yeah, just the way I'd written it.
What was the last one? Sorry, I was already laughing at
Ravens are 28-2 against the spread in the last 30 road AFC North games.
Wow, that is a start.
Yeah,
I knew when you said it sounded insane, but I was already getting ready to troll you, so I didn't quite take it all in. 28-2. That is
28-2.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still really impressive.
Great, yeah.
It's still really impressive. Sorry, I thought you said 28-2.
20.
Yeah. It's always annoying when the numbers do that. And it's still really impressive though to essentially double up on your opponents in that manner. They're such a good regular season team. It's unreal.
In a division that tends to be real tight and those road games are real difficult. Yeah. So cracking early game. And then we've got Joe, your San Francisco 49ers are on the late game. So we've got the Cardinals, Arizona Cardinals traveling to San Francisco to take on the Niners. The Niners are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 49.5. Another huge total for this one. Yeah, Joe, how do you like it? Seems to get back on track last week against the Patriots, but is that a little bit of they just beat up on the Patriots? How are you liking their chances against the Cardinals this week?
Yeah, certainly needed it last week. It's been a weird year because obviously we started off the year against the Jets. I thought, okay, we're going to carry on how it's always been. Obviously, the loss against the Vikings, but it feels like everyone's losing against them. And then it was a shock loss to the Rams, and I thought, here we go again. They normally don't start off great. It normally have some weird ones, but yeah, they need that win against the Patriots. It's just weird, like they've done really well against on offense. It feels like they're moving the ball really well. It's more the defense, and the defense is letting up. The special teams are not doing great. It's but historically, I think they've been doing well against the Cardinals the last few weeks. So I'm fairly confident that they'll win this. I'm struggling with that 7-point differential just because I don't just trust the Niners at the minute. It feels like they're letting teams back in, or they're not efficient in the red zone. It feels like they're just not where they were with McCaffrey. I think they're 20th in red zone efficiency, even though their offensive stats, they're second yards per game and second in passing per game. So it's just a weird one this year where it feels like the offense is firing. Purdy's looking really good, but it's just not clicking. And I think the best stats, the weird stats I saw for the 49ers team, they're actually the second worst team in yak per reception how they are normal years. They're struggling on what they normally do best. So it's it's going to be a fun game and see how the Cardinals react as well, because they feel that they've taken a dip the last few weeks.
Yeah, they've been in these 3 games now. Well, sorry, this is the 3rd game now where the over-under's massive on it. The line's high. They were, they only got lost by 7 against the Lions, but never really looked kind of in it. And then they got blown out by the Commanders last week. Do we think the Cardinals can? Byron, do you think they can run the Niners close, or are we expecting kind of again another 2-3 score win from the home favourites here?
I wouldn't be stunned if the Cardinals keep it close, but I don't expect them to. No, I think it's going to be a 2-touchdown plus kind of outing. I think that Cardinals defense is so, again, talent deprived. They've had moments where they've looked okay, but that's generally been against matchups where they've outperformed, I think. And kind of on that note, I took Purdy 300 plus passing yards as my bet of the game, plus 230. And Joe said, Purdy's looking well. I think Brock Purdy's looking the best he's ever looked. He looks he's scrambling around, which I mean doesn't really help with the plus passing yardage, but it helps with his play. He looks, like I said, the best he's ever looked. And that's a huge boom for him and a huge boom for the 49ers. Obviously, his contract year, I think, coming up. So I'm interested to see where that sells. I think this is a kind of a get-right game for Brandon Ayuk, who, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think has a touchdown on the year yet. So I think he's due a big game. I think that'll be coming because the Cardinals can't really cover anyone, which we've seen a few times already. I think it's, Debo's back, Kittle's back, McCaffrey's a long way back, it feels like. But Mason's absolutely fine as a runner. Like just says, they're missing that McCaffrey yak, they're missing the McCaffrey check down options. But yeah, I think this is. I do sometimes worry with Shanahan in these kind of games where you think, it should be pretty easy sailing. And then, it comes down to the last minute, field goal goes one way or the other. And you think, well, how have they, ended up not covering that game or even losing that game? But I just have enough trust in the talent, essentially. Fred Warner putting up a DPOY candidate season. And I don't think, for all the excitement of Kyler Murray, I don't think, especially after, was it week 1 or week 2 that he really shone out?
He played really well week 1 and week 2, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was both, in fact. Yeah, definitely against the Bills. Then, the Rams was week 2. I think since then, he's kind of fell off a little bit. They will have Trey McBride back this week, I'm pretty sure, which will help. Because, last week, they just didn't seem at it at all. And that was against the Commanders, who've got a pretty, again, talent-deprived defense, the worst in the NFL, I would dare say, in a matchup that required him to be getting up and down the field a lot. It doesn't seem to be there. I think the 49ers might be able to shut the Cardinals' offense down more than we might think. So, I think the 49ers cover relatively comfortably, unless we have a classic shenanigans game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for the Cardinals to keep it close, I think they have to run the ball really, really well, which they have done so far. James Conner's been really, obviously, really efficient so far. Yeah, he's been able to kind of have a few big games. So I think they need to run the ball really well, try and control some clock a little bit to try and keep it close. But we'll see. I'm on the Niners -7. Byron, you mentioned already, Purdy 300 plus passing yards. Joe, you're on Debo over 25 rush yards.
Yeah, I've just seen that in the last few games. He gets at least 2 attempts. And I think he's usually getting around 14, 15. So you just need one of them to just have a big run. And maybe they might use him a bit more. See what happens with Trent, because I think he's been in and out. So if they can get Trent in and hopefully do a Debo rush around the corner, around the left-hand side, then maybe it'll go for a big one. Especially with how Mason's playing, they might not be able to cover both. So a +235. I do like the 25 rushing yards for Debo.
Just a quick one, because obviously we've not had John last few weeks. McCaffrey, what has he got? The best Achilles tendonitis in both. It sounds awful. Are you hopeful of seeing him at any point?
It sounds like he's going to come back, but I just don't know when. I think Jordan Mason's, having that has helped soften the blow, how well he's played. It's been a weird year where I feel like last year the 49ers did well with no one getting injured, and this year feels like everyone's getting injured. Obviously, McCaffrey's a huge loss. I would Saturday, cautious where don't rush him back if we don't need him. I think they can still make the playoffs without him and get him up to speed near the end of the year. So we'll see how he goes the next few weeks. But with him, Debo, obviously Kittle. I think the big one was Hargrave, obviously being out for the year on IR as well. They just seem to gain a lot of injuries when this team didn't need it, especially on defense. So, give him a few more weeks. Don't rush him back, because we've seen with certain players around the league, you've rushed them back and then they're out for the year, and they're like, what's the point? Especially when we've got a capable backup, and how the system is that probably Mason's backup could run 400 yards as well. It's that kind of system. So don't bother rushing him.
Yeah, fair. Right, next up, Sunday Night Football. Dallas Cowboys traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Cowboys are 2.5-point underdogs. Over-under on this is 44. Where to start? Cowboys are real banged up. Really, really, really banged up. Demarcus Lawrence went on IR yesterday, I think. So he's going to be out for a number of weeks with a foot injury. Brandon Cooks is out injured. Mike Parsons obviously banged up. I think he was in a boot on Monday. I think he's doubtful, so I wouldn't expect him to play. Not looking good for the Cowboys heading to Pittsburgh.
Very much not. No. Dallas can't stop the run when they have those two in the lineup. So take them out of the lineup. I don't think we're going to get better at stopping the run. And all Arthur Smith wants to do is run some more. And they're doing well doing it. Justin Fields he's looking like a competent NFL quarterback. He's looking pretty good, truthfully. It's hard to be too kind because it is an odd scheme, I guess, where it's so run heavy. But I don't think the Cowboys are kind of tough enough on defense to stop the Steelers, even with the Steelers having deficiencies on the offensive line, players missing. I think when it comes to run blocking, it's an easier task where you can just kind of put your hands on and push forward a little more. And I think they're good at it. There's going to be play action opportunities for Pickens and Frymouth when Fields wants to take them big shots downfield, which again, he's not terrible at, certainly. He's not the most accurate quarterback in the league in the short and intermediate game, but get him, rolling and get him hitting it downfield. I think Dallas are really going to struggle to stay in this game. Brandon Cooks is also out now, so it's really got to be the CD and Fergie pass catching show. CD Lamb can do it regardless of how much coverage he gets, I think. But I just really worry Dallas keeping pace here with Pittsburgh. It's all going to have to be, what can Dak get done with those limited options against that brutal defensive line and with an offensive line that has shown, again, maybe more than you might expect with two rookies playing prominently, but still a lot of teething problems because you have two rookies on your offensive line.
Tyler Guyton's a liability, by the way.
Guyton's a walking penalty.
TJ Watt is going to kill him.
Yeah, it's the only way he stops him is by holding him, and that's the case with basically every edge rusher he's playing against. So, yeah, when you go against probably the best edge rusher in the league, it doesn't bode well, does it? And yeah, Dallas can't run the ball. So I've gone for Steelers -6.5 on my sheet as my bet here. That's plus 173. I was kind of hoping for a little, like maybe plus 250 would have been nice, but I don't see how Dallas get it done. I don't think they have the offensive weaponry, and I don't think even if the defense was fully fit, they were going to stop Pittsburgh from, again, bully balling them. And yeah, with that in mind, it's in Pittsburgh. Steelers are rolling. I don't see how Dallas slow them down enough.
Yeah, go on, Joe. Sorry.
I was just saying that I'm guessing the only thing what gives them some hope is that the Colts managed to throw on the Steelers. They managed to get over 250 yards with Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson in and out.
Colts have some semblance of an offensive line, though.
Yeah, I would say that's the big difference. If they can hold that up. And yeah, again, the Cowboys are one of them teams where you just look at that wide receiver room and, someone might be out there to trade for that. They just need some more weapons. And that's why I've gone CeeDee Lamb anytime touchdown at plus 120. I think he is the main option. I think he's been a bit quiet the last few weeks. I don't think he's had the same amount of level he did last year. Obviously, some people might say because he's got his contract now, but I still think he's, a top 3 wide receiver in this league. He needs to show it at some point. Sunday Night Football, I still think they can show that. I think my big worry is when you look at, and I know, Brian, you've talked about this loads at the start of the season, like how the league's changing to using motion offense. And I think Dallas might be one of the worst in the league. And there's certainly some whispers that the key players are not too happy with McCarthy's role as if how he's using that offense, and seems to be slipping back into them Green Bay days where it just doesn't look good, and it's not effective, and it just feels like he's already on a tightrope. And I think how the offense is playing when it's supposed to be their strength, it's not great for the Cowboys going against a team like the Steelers.
Yeah. I'm on the under in this one, under 44. I don't think either team will get to 20 here. So, yeah, I think of them even, Pittsburgh in their 3-1 start and have actually, And though they've been getting better offensively, I think they're averaging 18 points a game. So, yeah, I think it'll be very, very low scoring, and I think the Cowboys will just struggle to score, and their best offensive weapon will likely be Brandon Aubrey. Byron, you're on Steelers -6.5 at +173, and Joe, CeeDee Lamb touchdown +120. Monday Night Football.
Sorry, I just want to shout before we go that I know we'll talk about Fantasy Game Day later, but the Cowboys are first in allowing the most rushing touchdowns. So if there's any Steelers running backs out there, you can squeeze them in. It's certainly a big shout, especially.
And I think, just on that note, I think Cordell Patterson is probably going to miss the game, and I'm not sure about Jalen Warren start. So
Jalen Warren's going to be out as well, yeah.
So yeah, I think it could be a big Najee Harris week and/or Justin Fields week in that regard. Yeah, it's a good shout.
Excellent. Monday Night Football, it is then. New Orleans Saints are heading to Kansas to take on the Chiefs. Saints are 5.5-point underdogs. Over/under in this one's 43.5. I like the Saints in this one, not to win the game, but Chiefs just don't really tend to cover at home. I'll cover it all at the minute, but cover at home especially.
Yeah, I've got the exact same on our picks. Obviously, I haven't bet on it, but yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. I think, again, this is when the start of the year, you thought, okay, it's not the greatest Monday Night Football. It's not, but now it's like, I'm really excited to see this. I'm curious to see who the Saints are. Obviously, they've had 2 losses the last 2 weeks where it's been heartbreaking. The defense has kept them in. I think, was it last week, there was no offensive touchdowns they allowed and still managed to lose. And obviously, there was the one against the Eagles where the defense playing great, but they just let 2 massive plays basically ruin that whole game. So are the Saints for real? Can they bounce back? And what are the Chiefs going to do? With obviously Rice being out. There's still some news coming out. It might not be for the season. They're waiting for the swelling to go down, and they're going to have a second opinion. But he's certainly going to be out for a few weeks. So what can they?
On IR today, I think. Yeah.
Okay. And so we see what the Chiefs' offense can do in terms of, are they able to do anything? Like when you watch that against how the Chargers didn't win that, I think it's going to be another low-scoring game between these 2 teams. I think the defense for the best on either side, and I think it's what can the Chiefs do enough as usual to get over the line, but not to cover. So yeah, I agree with you, Paul, with the Saints at 5.5.
Excellent. You're the hot hand in the ATS pitch, Joe. So hopefully we're on to a winner there. Couple of obviously love the stats been quiet in the last couple of games, but Saints are pretty good on the road in terms of ATS. So they're 3-0 ATS in their last 3 road games, and they're 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 as a road underdog, including covering 7 of their last 8 on the road. Last couple of Chiefs home games have hit the over after 6 unders in a row, and the under is 20-10 in the last 30 Kansas City Chiefs home games. Byron, you've got, I guess, I can't see. Have you got, Perrine, yeah, anytime touchdown scorer.
Najee Perrine, anytime touchdown scorer, yeah, plus 500. Yeah, it's kind of a, I mean, that noise kind of tells you that I'm not in love with it, I must say. I found it really hard finding bets for this game because I do really like the matchup, but as you've just touched on that, with the Chiefs' offensive issues, I don't quite know where they're going to go. Carson Steele's, I was going to say in the doghouse, maybe the alligator house would be more appropriate.
Make a pair of boots out of him or something like that.
Yeah. And then I looked at the first, touchdown market, and, Kareem Hunt was like plus 125, and then Perrine was plus 500, and that just doesn't seem quite right to me. I know Hunt had a good game last week, but, there's a reason that he was on the, available market for so long. Like Kareem Hunt last year was the only running back who performed worse in efficiency metrics than Ezekiel Elliott, and we see what Ezekiel Elliott is for the Cowboys. I think Perrine's just a better running back. He's certainly a better pass catcher, and I think both those things will lead him to get more touchdown opportunities if they get into the the red zone and certainly in the 5-6 yards from the end zone. So I just think he's a really good bet at plus 500. Didn't quite make sense to me that he'd be such long odds when I think he even scored a touchdown last week. I think it was a garbage time he won, but he still scored it. And they have so little else. If it's not Travis Kelce, I don't really know who's going to be catching the ball. I
was massively surprised that Hunt basically took, he was the main running back and he's never been in the building. I was expecting Perrine to get quite a lot of work coming into last week, and it just seemed like, oh no, Hunt's better than you in the money. You're gonna stick to being, the third down guy. So I was surprised. So yeah, I do like that because Hunt's Hunt is, I think, is fairly washed up and he's not going to do much. And obviously, Steele just can't stop fumbling it. So yeah, plus 500. I was just surprised. I expected him to have such a massive game and be the lead back, but obviously there's something not quite right. But I think in a tight game where you might throw a few, certainly there to get some touchdowns. And I just got to mine. So I've got Travis Kelce 7+ receptions. I think, like what Byron said, I'm not quite sure where they're going to go. And I think they're going to lean heavily on Kelce, even though he's not started amazingly. Last week he did have 7 receptions. He had 9 targets. So I think if Mahomes is going to go anywhere, it's going to be Kelce, because it feels a bit like he's either going to throw it miles down the field to Worthit, or he's just going to dink and dunk to one of the tight ends, either Kelce or Gray, or even Watson. So I think Kelsey's going to be the main guy this week, and plus at 180, I think it's gone up to plus 200. I've just looked, so it's a 7+ receptions for Kelsey.
Excellent, good stuff. Plus 180, good value. Right, that's the end of our televised games discussion, I guess, or our Sky Games and Primetime Games discussion. What is the London game? I think the London game's on ITV, which is always rancid because they have normal football commentators do it. The guy who commentates for BT.
What?
Yeah, well, that would make it so much better. But it's usually I can't remember what it's called, but the guy who does the main commentary for BT or
Matterface.
No, Darren Fletcher, maybe he's called.
All right, yeah, I think he's done. I remember his name on NFL Games actually.
Yeah, because he just does everything now. He'll do the baseball, and that's on BBC when they have the games at West Ham. Yes, he's just the go-to American sports guy, even though he commentates on Premier League football. And then usually one of the British guys who's played American football as a co-commentator. So, yeah, I'm seriously hoping there's an option for it on Sky, but because they'll just put the NFL Network commentary or whatever. So I'll just watch it. I'll just watch it on NFL Network, actually. Yeah, hopefully it will be. FourFold draft. We're up next. Excellent. So it's no guest, but because of the late dropout, but we've got our good friend Dockers who's picked a FourFold for us. So we'll get into his I suppose talk about his as we go. But yes, usual format for us. So it's a favourite and underdog, and over and under, and we'll do it in a draft format. We're not doing great. None of us have got a winning record so far. I think I'm leading the way at 7-8-1, which is terrible. Byron's half a game behind me. Joe's been terrible at this, 4-12 so far, and our guests 6-9-1. So we'll see if we can do any better. Byron, your first pick this week. What have you got for us?
Cool, and I'm going with one that we've already talked about, so I don't need to stall and do lots of time for you to get the thing sorted because Joe's a pro. I
need the time though because I don't know what I'm fucking picking.
Well, you've got another pick in between, but I'm going Steelers to cover against the Cowboys minus 2.5. I've already kind of laid out my case for why. I have them, like I say, minus 6.5 as my bet. So yeah, Steelers minus 2.5 as home favourites.
Joe, you should make him have to take minus 6.5 because he's betting on it.
I mean, the way the FourFold challenge is going, you can make it 50.5, and you can make it plus 6.5, and I'd probably still lose. So.
And that'd be good though, because that means the Cowboys won.
Yeah,
that would be good. Excellent. Yeah, Steelers 2.5-point favourites at home against the Dallas Cowboys. Joe.
Okay. I'm gonna go favourite as well. I'm going to go the Bears plus 3.5 over the Panthers. I was surprised this was so low. I know, obviously, the Bears' offense has not been great. I think Caleb Williams has had a very shaky start. But Carolinas have been absolutely, especially their defense, have been trash. They're first in points allowed at 32.3 per game. And I just feel like it's there for the Bears to win. In a 3.5, I think they can win this. It's a huge revenge game, obviously. Andy Dalton revenge game, since he used to play for the Bears. DJ Moore in the trade revenge game. Enjoying that. So, I just think the Bears are going to be too much for the Panthers. And at 3.5, I don't think it's great. I think the Bears' defense is the main strength of this of the teams, and I think they could easily score a couple of touchdowns on this Panthers team. And when you look at the Bears, current schedule, I think, they can get a roll on here because obviously they play the banged up Rams. They've got Panthers this week. They've got 0-4 Jacksonville next week, a bye. Then they got Washington, Cardinals, Patriots. So this is a huge run for them, and I just think at 3.5 points, it's there for them to win it.
Been wheeling out the DJ Moore quotes on why they're getting rid of Justin Fields again. Why they got rid of Justin Fields this week, and obviously he's not really got going at all with Caleb yet, has he? So interesting.
Fun fact for you on this one.
Fun fact.
Sure, not trivia, just a fun fact for you. The Bears are 4-0 as home favourites against Panthers, but they are 0-4 against the spread.
There you go, Joe. Just what you like to hear.
Yeah. Well, the camera record's going makes sense.
Fair.
Excellent. What shall I do? I can hang on to my favourite. I'm surprised, actually, the favourite I'm going to take later on. You haven't. I'm surprised you didn't take it, Byron.
I'll start about it.
I will take. I'm going to take one of these big totals as an under, I think. I'm going to take. Which one? Cardinals, Niners, under 49.5. It's a massive number.
Yes.
It's a massive number. I think to be fair, the way it's going, that could just be like similar to last week, 39, 35, 10 or something. I don't know. For the Niners, yeah. The Cardinals dropped off. So, yeah, I'll take that, even though that goes against that game, because that game typically does go over. I think it's 4 in a row. So I'll take that. And then there's not many dogs left. Do I take the early one or the late one? I don't want to kill my FourFold by the time the episode comes out, do I? I'll take the Saints plus 5.5. I think it's just too big a number. I think the Saints can keep it close, and I just don't know what the Chiefs are going to do offensively. I think it might be the defense winning that game for the Chiefs. So low scoring, and it's a big number, especially like the over-under's 43.5. So I like 5.5 point underdog there. So give me the Saints. Jenny will be happy to hear that. Joe, back to you. Sorry, I go there. Sorry.
No, it was choosing the two games which we've already talked about. That was that helps me out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so you've taken one of my ducks. Okay, I'll go for an over. Or do I go an under? No, I'll go an over. I'll go. I'm going to go Browns Commanders 43.5. I think the Commanders defense is not great. It's similar to Panthers. It's laying a lot of points. I think the Commanders offense has been great. I think they can beat this Browns team. It could be comfortable, just how the Browns have looked, but I still think the Browns can get some touchdowns, make it to 20, and just how Jaden Daniels has been playing, I think they can, put some points on this Browns, especially. I know we mentioned it loads last year, how they were away from home wasn't as good as how they were playing in their own stadium. So, yeah, I think this could be a high 20s for the Commanders, 20 for the Browns. So 43.5, I'm going, over Browns Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders putting up just over 30 points a game for third best in the NFL so far this season. Deshaun Watson did look better last week. He made some, I think he consistently made better throws. His fucking receivers screwed him last week, to be fair.
I've got a good fact about that. So Browns wide receivers have dropped the most amount of passes this year. It's at 11.8%. It's dropped the amount of things. So that just says a lot right there. And that O-line is having a shocker in first in pressures allowed, second in pressures percentage, first in sacked allowed. So yes, it probably makes sense why I think I watched the highlights and Watson was just getting crunched most of the game. So obviously that's not great for my bet, but I think this Washington defense, it's still not up to snuff, and I think they can score some points on that.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Byron, back to you.
I'm going to take my underdog. Thought Joe was going to take when he was talking underdog. He's going to take there. I'm going to go Texans over Bills plus 1 point.
This doesn't feel like an underdog, does it?
No, not really. But it's tough sledding this week to find an underdog I like. So I'm taking one that is an underdog by technicality or anything else. Lifetime history, when the Texans are underdogs at home against the Bills, they are won every single time. So that's good. 1-0 in 2002. So that's a good start to get us off to a good start there. Bills have had a really good start to the season, but obviously had a really bad Monday Night Football. I think Texans are a really good team as well. I think just being at home and being an underdog just makes us my favorite underdog of the week, probably. Not probably. It is. I don't have many underdogs on my sheet. So
yeah, I think it's been tough. And that also worries me, that the fact that I'm not like in our ATS. I think I've got 3 dogs and we're buys, aren't we? So it's 14 games and 3-11, and that worries me massively given that the favourites have not fared well so far this season. So
as soon as I took Steelers Cowboys as my favourite, I was like, oh, if Joe takes the Texans as his underdog, I'm screwed here because I don't know what I'm going to take. Well, I know what I'm going to take, but I don't really want to do it. I'm not going to mention the game in question until the end, maybe. But yeah, I think it's a really great game. This is one that could really be Sunday night or Monday Night Football, and I'd be very happy with it. Being a Sunday early game, okay, it is what it is. It's not a stacked slate, so we should see plenty of it. It probably will be it's a tough one because you've got the Ravens Bengals at the same time, but one of those will be my main game, and then I'll have Red Zone on the other screen as well. But should be a really good matchup. Both quarterbacks. Stroud had a slower start to the year, and obviously, I mean, don't know if we need to mention it, but it is a revenge game for Stephon Diggs, obviously. And I know we kind of joke around with revenge games a lot, but I think this is a pretty serious one. I think Stephon Diggs will be very motivated to go out and show that he wasn't the problem in Buffalo, and that he still got it, etc., etc. So,
and he's working. He's working. You know, in Nelson, Nico Collins is the guy, and he's playing his role, and obviously they're getting production out of him. So everything seems to be going well in Houston so far for Stephon.
Yeah, they're using him, I think, a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. So I think he's probably going to end up being their top target or top receiver in terms of receptions by the year's end. Obviously, Nico Collins is the number 1 wide receiver, but Diggs has carved out a really good role already. I think Tank will be back for this game as well. He was such a kind of unique weapon and doesn't really need much workload to get big weeks. Even if he's not actually getting the ball, he just takes a cap off the defense, which opens things up for people like Diggs underneath. So I like the Texans this one. Not a total slam dunk, but I think just getting +1 is any kind of benefit.
Yeah, I think this is big for the Texans as well. Just it feels like they haven't made that statement yet this year.
Yeah,
you know, they scraped past the Colts. They beat the Chicago in a low-scoring game. They got blown out by the Vikings, and then they just about beat the Jaguars last week. So I feel like, you know, the 3-1, you can't really complain. But there was such big hype in there that they were going to take control of this division, and it was going to be, you know, they were going to be the one who challenges the Chiefs. So I think this is big in terms of kind of lay down a marker similar to what the Ravens did against the Bills. Basically, the best, you know, I know the Ravens are 2-2, but if they're playing against each other next week, you probably think, well, the Ravens have looked better. The Texans have seemed like scraping by, and you know, they've not been as highly productive on defense as we thought they were as well. So I think this is a huge game for them to be like, and same for the Bills. The Bills are similar. How last week went, you know, it's a bit tough for them. They've had to go to Ravens and then to Houston back-to-back weeks. So the schedule gods have not been kind there.
Yeah, not sure. Wait, was it Sunday Football? But yeah, I like the Bills bounce back. I think I've not really been impressed with the Texans so far. So I like the Bills bounce back. So sorry, Byron. Byron, your second one.
I'm going the under in the Raiders at Broncos, under 36. Obviously a low under, but two teams who can certainly hit it. You know, the Bo Nix experience is, I think they're getting good production out of him relative to what week 1 and 2 were. You know, the rushing's there a little bit. The defense has really stepped up for Denver though the last 2 weeks. They're looking like one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I don't think the Raiders have the pieces to take advantage of that. Devontae Adams, obviously, out with his hamstring injury and his trade request. So I don't think he's ever going to play for Vegas again.
I think that's him done now, yeah.
Yeah, so I think he'll get moved probably next week when his hamstring injury hopefully clears up, so he can clear a medical, which I'm sure it will do just fine. Broncos-Raiders games in Denver have gone under 7 out of the last 10. It's just not a game that inspires high scoring. And especially, Gardner Minshew-Bo Nix affair does not inspire high scoring either. I think both teams' defenses are the best units on the matchup. So yeah, 36 is a low number, but I think it's one that can hit under certainly.
Joe, I guess, given me and Byron have taken our underdog, I don't know what you would be taking.
An underdog?
I'm going to take my under. You know what I'm going to do? Is it crazy? Because how low the number is, but I just can't see it. I'm going to go with Dolphins and Patriots. I see these like low, 36.5. I see these low scoring ones, and I always think, oh, it can't be under. And then it's like 10-7. And I think just these two teams, just, the offenses of both teams have just been atrocious. It feels like there's some grumblings in Miami where players are making business decisions again. That was 2 weeks in a row. A head coach had mentioned that. And just looking at both teams, just not looking good. David Andrews is out for the New England Patriots. He's injured and likely to miss the season, so that's another offensive lineman down. I think they're on the fourth left tackle. The wide receiver's not happy with Jacoby Brissett, and it could be his last week if he plays how he has been. And on the reverse side, Jalen Phillips is out for the Dolphins for the year, which I wonder if they rushed him back too much. And just how that team looked against the Titans just didn't look amazing whatsoever. So
I think Matt McDaniel's going to start coming under pressure. And I know I've no quarterback. How he's not, especially the run of games that they've had as well. Yeah. Like we talked about, I've mentioned it the other week as well, but they managed to find a way to win the games. LaFleur's found a way to win a couple of games with Malik Willis. We talk about how great an offensive mind that Mike McDaniel is and his scheme and stuff like that. How he's not been able to get that ball to Devon A-Chain enough, to get that ball to Waddle, to get that ball to Tyreek Hill, to find enough offense to win games, I think he's criminal. He's got so much there still. I understand the quarterback is absolutely the most important position. He should be finding ways to get Tyreek running, finding ways to get Waddle open, A-Chain running free. And he's just not done it.
They opted to not have Mike White in the building. Yeah. He was sure he can pass the ball. I mean, I'm not saying Mike White is a top 32 NFL quarterback even, but he can pass the ball.
He's won games in the NFL by airing the ball out.
I think it might be a bit better with Tyler Huntley this week just because he's had an extra week. If it's not, then I absolutely agree that this is the hot seat.
It is funny you say that, Paul, because I listened to the last few podcasts. I was curious because I know Byron brought it up maybe last week or the week before about Mike McDaniel, because I know Byron's been a huge fan of his and praising him. And I think there's worry. I think I saw a crazy stat back against winning teams, but I looked at playoff teams. So in 2022, they were 2-5 against playoff teams. They were 1-5 last year as well. So it feels like any big game they have, they just come unstuck, and it just looks. I think with all that talent, it just doesn't look, promising. When they're playing against non-playoff teams who are absolute garbage, then that's when they put up these huge points, and suddenly, they're the best offense in the last decade. But yeah, it's just a weird team. There's a whole thing: is Tua a system quarterback? Well, it might not be with how the system's looking right now.
It looks like Tua is a system.
Yeah, exactly. And I just worry, is Tyreek Hill? Is he going to be asking for a trade soon? And, that kind of stuff. I feel like this could, if they lose this game against the Patriots, then I feel like it's going to be, the next few weeks. I think there's going to be a lot of headlines, a lot of headlines coming from the Dolphins in terms of players wanting out. I think McDaniels is probably safe. It's probably more the GM or people around that it might change. And another reason I picked this game, I thought this was a crazy stat. New England have only had 19 throws over 10 yards this season. And Miami and New England are the bottom two for yards before catch per reception. I think it's 3 or 4 yards. So they both just throw it short. So I think it's going to be a slug of a game where I don't think many people are going to be watching it. I think it's going to be, whoever's watching that game, I feel sorry for you.
That's fair enough. I've got my two. So I know one for sure. I need to pick my over. It's what I'm struggling for. So the first, I'm going to take my favourite now. And it's, the one I thought Byron was going to take at one. It's the Seattle Seahawks at home to the Giants. Seahawks are 6-point favourites. You know what? Obviously, I sort of said I didn't think the Seahawks were going to be great. I thought they'd tail off a bit. Monday night, I thought they played really, really well Monday night, particularly offensively. And I know kind of in the end getting beat by a couple of scores against the Lions, but the most first downs a team has got in an NFL game without winning. They were fantastic. Yeah. Geno Smith in the face of pressure constantly in his face played unbelievable. So, I'm going to take the Seahawks -6 against the Giants. So the Giants played better, and they've had, they've had a longer, also most like mini bye playing Thursday night and then traveling out west. But I know the Seahawks are on a short week, having played Monday Night Football and a tough game against the Lions. But I'm going to take the Seahawks. You know what? Hand up, very wrong. Look really good. Metcalf, he just seems to have gone up a gear.
Yeah,
he's just phenomenal. Real plus Walker played really well.
That play by Walker, the double wrestling move thing was that's one of the best running back plays. I'm not going to say running back plays I've ever seen, I guess, but most athletic things I've ever seen on a field for a while.
It's one of the most creative ways I've seen to avoid hitting the floor for sure.
And he was one of my preseason OPOY bets. Was 150 to 1. He's now 30 to 1, Kenneth Walker, having missed a couple of games. So keep going, Kenneth. Come on, son. We like 150 to 1 bets coming in. I do have a fun fact trivia for this game as well, if you'd like one.
Go for it.
Okay. So the Giants have only won once as a road underdog in Seattle. And it was, I'll give you the year. I want to know who the starting quarterback was for the Giants, basically, that game. It was December 2020.
December 2020. Was it Geno?
No, but it is a Geno revenge game, but no, it wasn't Geno. I was hoping it was Geno, but it wasn't. It's someone I don't recall playing for the Giants, which is why I asked.
Colt McCoy? No?
Colt McCoy. My man.
Yeah. Nice.
He had 2 starts for the Giants, and one of them was a win in Seattle. They played there 6 times as a road underdog, and that's the only time they've ever won.
I think he just I say McCoy for most QB questions. He's probably played for most of them.
Yeah, I don't remember Colt McCoy lining up for the Giants, but he did only start twice, so great memory there. In the COVID season, and there were one in Seattle as a road underdog. Only time I've ever done it.
Excellent, good stuff. Great trivia question. The over, I hate it. It's disgusting. I'm going to take Colts Jaguars. It's over 46. Last 3 meetings between these two have hit the over, so I'm going to take the over. I think Peterson could be fired before they get the plane to London next week. It's real bad. So I'm thinking the Jaguars are going to step it up, might potentially have a bit of a better offensive game. And the Colts, whether it's Andy Richardson or whether it is Joe Flacco, I don't think it really matters. I think Richardson's going to play in it, but I think whoever it is doesn't really matter. I think there's enough to get to 47 there. So, you've both picked your favourites, haven't you? So you're not going to pick. How the hell are Jacksonville 3-point favourites in this game?
I think it's
who else is missing for the Colts?
They're at home and they've got to have it. Is kind of my entire reason
I know
for it.
Jonathan Taylor hasn't practiced yet this week because of an ankle injury.
I do think. Sorry. I don't think it sounds silly on offense. I don't think the Jags are that far away from clicking, but they haven't clicked yet. So it's not like they'll just click this week magically. If Evan Engram is back, I think that's a huge back for them. And the Colts defense is just so bad that I think it's. I mean, I have took the Jags on our sheet, so I shouldn't be saying it's obscene because I just think that. I think the Jags are due a win, which sounds, it's not super analytical, obviously. But I think having Evan Engram back would help. And I just think
Josh Hines Allen, I don't know if he's going to be, he had a concussion. Engram practiced limited Wednesday. Gabe Davis was also limited. Tank Bigsby, who's who's been interesting. Also limited price. So I don't know, they could be banged up as well. And so was Travis Etienne. He flashed on the injury report yesterday as well. So that worrying. But yeah, I don't know. I just something stinks about this game with the Jags as 3-point favorites. I don't get it and I don't understand it. So I'm just gonna go for the over.
Well, I'm going to do the fun thing. Let's go to the Colts. Let's do it. Let's be that person to, get suckered in and, go for the Colts. Because, I'm the same. Don't know how the Jags are favourites in this. I think they've not looked great. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has looked that good. He's just not looking confident. And I know me and Byron had this discussion last year about Trevor Lawrence, about where he is in his career and where he's going to go. Obviously, he got the big contract. It made sense why he got that contract, but is he just destined to be a middling quarterback now after all that hype coming into the league where he was going to be the next Peyton Manning, the next big thing? How do you feel like Trevor's been playing and what can he do in the future to improve?
I've found it. The Jags have won the last 9 in Jacksonville. That's why they're 3-point favourites. They've beat them 9 times in a row in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And that's why you go for the Colts.
All of a sudden it makes a bit of sense. 9 in a row straight up, 9 in a row ATS as well, including a game where the Jaguars were 14-point underdogs.
What year was
that? It must have been week 18, 2022.
Was that the Carson Wentz game?
Yeah.
Wonderful. What a memory.
Yeah.
Lost him his job. Lost him basically his career. Right, well, he ended up went to Washington. That lost him his career. But
there you go. Byron, if you are on, you need an over.
Yeah. Torn between 2 here. And as it's me last pick, and I'll tell you what my other one was as well, I guess. I was going to go Ravens-Bengals at 49, but I'm going to go with Gino and the boys at 43.5. So Giants at Seahawks, 43.5 as my over. And hopefully Malik Neighbors plays. I know he's in a concussion protocol, but with it being a Thursday to Sunday, gives him an extra day or 2 to hopefully clear that. He said he was fine the day of, but I mean, that isn't how the concussion protocol works, thankfully. You actually need to clear things. You can't just say, I'm all right, because no player would ever miss a game with concussion if that was the case. I just think, like you said, Gino and the boys are really rolling. The Giants defense can't stop too much. If Neighbors plays, I think he's good for a couple of big plays at least, and hopefully about 40 targets again. I know we mentioned Jared Goff was perfect Monday night. I kind of think Gino played better than him. He just didn't. He threw a lot more. Jared Goff had 19 passes?
50 odd times, didn't he?
Yeah. So Jared Goff was perfect, but on 19 throws, whereas Gino, like you say, he had pressure in his face the entire game. I know I bang on about Gino, and I'm just using this excuse while Joe updates the sheet basically to continue doing so. But Walker, DK, JSN's been good as well. I just think they're just rolling on offense right now, and I don't think New York have really got the. I think the only way New York can slow them down is if that pass rush, which we keep talking about, is big names on paper, finally gets going against the Seahawks, kind of busted up all line. But the Giants at this point, they are just names on paper, that D-line, because they're not doing anything on grass or turf or any other material they actually stand on. So, I just don't have any faith in the Giants slowing Seahawks down. I think this could be a really fun one to watch for the Gino fan club.
Excellent. So that finishes us off. Giants, Seahawks over 43.5. I was tempted to take that and double up, but I left it for you, Baron. Joe's just updating the sheet. Dockers was our guest, so we'll just run through his FourFold as well. He wasn't our guest, he just sent one in because we didn't have a guest. So appreciate it, Dockers. He's favourites of the Broncos, 3-point favourites at home to the Raiders. He's gone for the Jets to upset the Vikings as 2.5-point underdogs. He's gone for his Chicago Bears and Carolina Panthers to go over 41. And the Bengals Ravens under 49. Joe, is this your first? So, Joe, your FourFold comes in at plus 1175. Is that the first time we've had one come in at under 12 to 1?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, it's probably that Dolphins Patriots one's probably at minus 500.
Yeah, but yeah, Byron's FourFold plus 1228, Joe's plus 1175, mine plus 1200, Bob on, and Docker's plus 1291. So yeah, in and around 12 to 1. Before folds, let's see if we can hit one this week. I feel good this week. I feel real good this week. Apart from the stinky over, like that over. I don't feel great about that over, but I feel good this week. The confidence clearly not shared.
I was confident last week and I hit one, so I'm keeping quiet.
Well, we've got to hit one eventually. I think we'll hit one and then the floodgates will open, I think. Yeah, is the path. But yeah, back it if you like them. Or don't. Moving on to the rest of our ATS picks, we'll touch in on our ATS picks competition. This is, Joe, one area where you are doing really well. You're leading the way, 5 games ahead of Byron. You're at 33, 28, and 3. Byron's 28, 33, and 3. I suck. I cannot pick a game to save my life at the minute. 19, 42, and 3. Astonishing start to the season for me from an ATS picks perspective. We're a lot more aligned this week, which is worrying for you two.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
hated that.
Yeah, there's a lot where we're on all three of us are on the same team. So we'll just touch in the games that we haven't talked about. Bucks Thursday Night Football. Bucks are 1.5 point underdogs against the Falcons. That game will have already happened by the time if you're listening to this. Yeah, I like the Bucks. Falcons are terrible as a home underdog, so I've just stayed away from them. But yeah, Buccaneers plus the 1.5. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be tight. Joe, you're on the Falcons. You're the odd man out.
Did you mean the Falcons are favourites? Are terrible of the home?
Yeah, Falcons are awful as a home favourite.
Okay, cool. Because you said home underdogs, that's why I was like, oh, okay, then mine a bit cheaper.
Yeah, sorry, no, home favourite. They are terrible.
Yeah, I just went with a gut feel here. I just think the Falcons will sneak this one. I think it's gonna be a fun game. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. So saying that, probably when you listen to this, it probably was like 10-7, something like that. So
Falcons have covered one of the last 8 games where they've been a home favourite. They're terrible as a home favourite.
I hope you told me that beforehand. So cheers.
Yeah, well, you can go look up the stats yourself. Yeah, I'm on the Jets. We've talked about the game. Jets plus 2.5 against the Vikings. All on the Ravens. Yeah, I'm on the Bills. I've fancied the Bills. We've already talked about that a little bit in that FourFold. Bills -1 at home to the Texans. We're all on the Chicago Bears. Real worried about that one. Yeah, I don't know. Andy Dalton revenge game. He's got so many. Yeah, Panthers plus 3.5 underdogs, but we're all on the Bears. All on the Commanders. I'm surprised the Commanders the Commanders didn't get taken as a favourite, did they? No, in the FourFold.
No, I think there's some nice favourites this week, though. That's kind of why.
Yeah, Joe's just dropped a stat. So we're all on the Commanders. We are 8, 15, and 2 when all three of us are on the same team in ATS. That's horrendous, isn't it? Yeah. Joe, you're on the Colts. You've mentioned you've also taken them as your underdog for 4th. Did you? Yeah, I told me you underdog in the FourFold just a second ago. Yeah. You're on the Dolphins. +1 against the Patriots in that horrendous game. We've touched on that one. Cardinals to cover against the 49ers. Oh.
Yeah. I just think I was going to fight. I think it's probably more because you guys picked them. But yeah, I always get it the wrong way around. When I think the 49ers are not going to cover, they normally do. And then when I think they're going to cover easily, it's usually the other way. So my initial thought was they're going to cover it. And then I thought, you know what? I'll try something new and go for the other direction. I just think, yeah, like we've talked about it, 49ers are letting teams in. So +7. That would be nice if it was like +10. But +7.
Excellent. Good stuff. You two are on the Raiders. I'm on the Broncos. All on the Packers. We've not touched this game. Packers might have 3-point favourites at the Rams. I know the Rams just looked so bad last week.
Yeah, and the Green Bay offense is rolling. Jordan Love's back, and a bit of an erratic game, I think, but on the whole, more good than bad. And I just don't think the Rams have the players to keep up with the Packers as they are right now. It's kind of my entire take on it. I think they can run all over them, pass all over them. And I just think the Rams don't have enough on offense or defense, bodies-wise, to keep up.
We're all on the Seahawks, which is going to kill my FourFold now, obviously, as 6-point favourites at home to the Giants, and we've talked about the other two games. Me and Byron, oddly, are on the Steelers. Joe, you fancy the Cowboys? You fancy the Cowboys to win the game outright?
Yes, I was feeling more confident before this podcast with all the so I knew the news about the defense. I think it's gonna be a tight game. I think it's one of them games where I feel the Cowboys need it more than the Steelers. So and I was gonna choose them the FourFold, but yeah, like I said, after you guys dove more into it, I was like, okay, maybe not. But yeah, I fancy they could sneak a win in a low-scoring game.
Would love that to happen. Yeah, Byron flying solo on the Chiefs to cover the 5.5. Me and Joe on the Saints. Hopefully that'll week for me. We'll see. I'm just the split of favourites to underdogs. I'm honest terrible. So yeah, not good. Hopefully pick the right ones. Last bit of business then for us. Fantasy Game Day. Whoa, Fantasy Game Day. Yeah, reminder, Fantasy Game Day is the UK's best and fastest growing NFL daily fantasy game. You pick your players from the budget, watch the points roll in, and if you finish in the top 20%, you win yourself a cash prize. We need to get in the back in the cash prizes this week, gents. We've had 2 weeks out of them. We got screwed by Rashee Rice last week. Well, I guess we got screwed by Mahomes taking out Rashee Rice last week. But either way. And yeah, so you've got to be 18 years or over to play. Must be in the UK. And of course, please gamble responsibly and use promo code COVER when you sign up, because you will get a free play after you've entered for the first time. So you could use it as a second lineup for that week or save it for the week after. And make sure you'll get your lineups in before 5:55 p.m. That's when the deadline is. And yeah, Fantasy Game Day already given away over £20,000 so far, and that number will continue to rise. So support a great business, support a great independent business from three fantastic guys from the UK, and go play Fantasy Game Day. Joe, we'll start with you. Quarterback you've picked is Jordan Love. After obviously, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions last week. Certainly don't expect him to make the turnover mistakes against the Rams this week.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for. I think it's going to be. I think what you've touched on just before with Rams dropping off. I think it's going to be a big game. I think him and Reed is going to have some big plays. So compared to the other quarterbacks, I think they could get some yards against that Rams team.
Excellent. 6,200 for Jordan Love. Byron, you've gone for Joe's quarterback, Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mentioned it in the preview of that game. I just think the Cardinals defense ain't great, and Purdy's looking really, really good, like top 6 quarterback in the NFL this year. So, yeah, 5,600 I think is a nice price on a game where they're going to run the score up.
I was going to say I was shocked at that price because he's number 1 in passing yards. I think it's just the touchdowns he's just missing. Where they're just not scoring the red zone as much. But yeah, it's a really nice price.
Yeah, and it's just hard with the other quarterbacks as well. Doesn't necessarily. I know he can move on the ground, but it doesn't obviously get the volume of carries and yards to.
I don't want to be argumentative, but Brock Purdy isn't number 1 in passing yards.
Is it?
He's number 2 in passing yards behind.
Okay.
Paul, who have you gone for?
Gino.
That guy.
I went for Gino. My worry is just the short week, I think. And they're at home, though. So, yeah. I'm so, obviously, Seahawks in the FourFold. Gino's the Fantasy Game Day quarterback. They're going to get fucking hammered now, aren't they?
I just like that I'm finally rubbing off on you.
Well, you can stop rubbing off on or around me, please. Family show. Gino, yeah, £5,600. Yeah, I know the Giants were a bit better. Like, they play pretty well defensively against Dallas, but I think that's just the way the Seahawks are. I think they'll be able to exploit the Giants, and I think you have a pretty productive day, Gino. My wide receiver shout, I've gone for T. Higgins. He's kind of back last week, wasn't he? I think he had 6 for 60. Yeah, in a game where the Cincinnati Bengals should be able to move the ball through the air on the Ravens, I think he's a good value pick at 4,800. So you could pay the extra and get Chase, but I think to complement your lineup, Higgins at 4,800 is pretty good value. I would expect him to get double-digit targets in that game, so opportunity to be real productive. Byron, do you really need to explain DK Metcalf, given what we just talked about?
No, he's on the higher price end at 5,800, but not like number 1 price end. I think he's a reasonable captain play this week as well.
Excellent. Joe, your wide receiver shout?
Yeah, I've gone for Myers. For the Raiders, I just think, obviously, we touched on Devontae wanting out. And I think he had a nice game last week, so I think it's going to be in between him and Brock Bowers. I think Denver will be able to cover Bowers because I think they'll be their number one targets. I think Myers could get some. I just think it's nice for the price. I think it's not going to be Metcalf numbers or anything, but if you need a cheap option to get in bigger players, I do like Myers because I think he's going to get quite a few targets.
Excellent, good stuff. And you've gone for Swift for your running back shout?
Yeah, he's against the Panthers. I think that's all I really need to say, to be honest. For 600, it's not that bad, to be honest. Yeah. And I think with how Williams has looked, I think they might try and run it a bit more and hopefully racks up the yards and score some touchdowns.
Worked last week, didn't it? A more balanced approach from the Bears, and Swift had a big game. Byron, you've gone for a budget option for your running back shout?
Yeah, Antonio Gibson. Mayo came out this week and talked about Ramondre Stevenson is fumbling too much, and they might go to Gibson as a starter. Not an offensive situation you necessarily want to fall in love with, but at £3,000, I think it's he's worth a play because Miami's, it says Cleveland here, Miami's defense is not as bad as their offense, but it's not great. And Jalen Phillips out for the season now, another injury for him. So I kind of think if the Patriots are going to do anything, it might be on the ground. And if Gibson's going to be the RB1 or certainly get a 50-50 split of the workload, even maybe slightly above, I think £3,000 gives you a good chance to get some, higher end players in later in your lineup.
Yeah, Dolphins give it up 120 yards a game on the ground. It's kind of in that bottom quintile of teams. So yeah, good shout. I've gone for Jacobs. Rams also give it up 165 yards 65 yards a game on the ground. Packers have been running the ball really, really well. Put those two things together. Josh Jacobs is what you come out with. 5,600 for Josh Jacobs. Joe thought Gibson was still playing for the Commanders, hence his update on the sheet. Look, we all learned something new. Gents of Trimmer preview episode due to the lack of guests, but we've done it. Week 5, here we come. Keep an eye out on our
bye weeks.
I know, yeah, start bye weeks is odd. Keep an eye on our social media channels, so Twitter, X, Instagram at GTW_GTC to see the rest of our bets for the other games as they come out. Make sure you're just following along on those anyway. Also give us a follow on YouTube to see our faces as well as heroes at GTW_GTC. TikTok for Charlie's Picks. Charlie's Pick is already out, so go. That doesn't work because that's after the game, but make sure you check it out.
See if he was right.
See if you were right in his books. Falcons Pick, see it on TikTok, again, at GTW_GTC, and check us out on Spotify and subscribe, and you'll be notified when new episodes drop. Gents, we will see you on after the weekend to do the review. Good to have you back, Joe.
No worries, mate. All your bets cash.
Hey.